What happens when a rising star refuses to follow the script of daytime TV? When millions are watching and the cameras won't cut, even the safest stage can turn volatile. Today we're looking at one of the most unforgettable moments in talk. Show history, a confrontation that left producers scrambling and an audience frozen in disbelief. On paper, the Kelly Clarkson show was supposed to be just another stop for Teddy Swims. Fresh off his new album, the tattooed soul singer was making the media rounds, expected to charm viewers with his voice and his story. But instead of routine, small talk. What unfolded was raw, unscripted, and impossible to ignore. Kelly opened with her trademark warmth, the audience buzzing with anticipation. "So, Teddy, congratulations on the new album. Tell us about the creative process." But Teddy didn't bite. He scanned the room, then leaned forward. "You know, Kelly, I appreciate this platform, but how much of what we're about to say is actually real?" The words landed heavy. Kelly's smile faltered. "What do you mean? How much of this is scripted?" Teddy pressed. "How much of me has already been decided before I even sit in this chair?" A nervous laugh from Kelly. A quick glance toward the producers. "Teddy, we're here to talk about your journey, your music. That's what's real." "Is it though?" He shot back, calm but cutting. "Every show wants the same story. The reformed bad boy, the tattooed teddy bear with an angel's voice, neat, marketable, safe, but that's not the whole truth." The audience shifted uneasily. Kelly sat taller, her smile stiffening. "I think people connect with authenticity, Teddy. That's what makes your story powerful." "Authenticity," Teddy repeated, the word sharp. Interesting, coming from someone who built a career on American Idol, a show built to manufacture narratives. The crowd gasped. Kelly's face tightened, irritation flashing through her polished demeanor. "American Idol gave me opportunities I never dreamed of," she fired back. "It connected me to millions of people who've supported my music for over 20 years. That connection is very real." Teddy nodded, but his gaze stayed locked. "I'm not questioning your talent. You can sing. No one denies that. But you played the game. You became who they wanted you to be. And now, sitting here, you're asking me to do the same." The cameras kept rolling, capturing every flicker of unease as the interview slid further off script. Behind them, producers traded nervous glances, hands hovering over the switchboard. "Cut to commercial? Or let it ride?" Kelly's jaw set, her voice measured but steely. "You're making some big assumptions about me and about this show. We're here to talk about your music, your art. If that feels inauthentic to you, maybe the issue isn't the format." Teddy leaned back, a faint, knowing smile curling at his lips. "There it is, the deflection. Instead of engaging with what I'm saying, you turn it into my problem." "That's exactly what I mean." Kelly's composure thinned, irritation creeping through. "Teddy, honestly, what are you trying to accomplish here? Because right now I'm not sure." "I'm trying to have a real conversation," he shot back, his voice rising just enough to vibrate through the silent room. "I'm trying to talk about what it means to be an artist in an industry that sells authenticity like it's just another product. Every time I go there, you drag us back to safe territory." The studio audience was silent now, tension thick enough to choke on. Kelly sat back, her expression caught between disbelief and frustration. "I've had thousands of conversations with artists over the years. Some light, some heavy, but all of them real. This idea that everything is manufactured, that's not how it works here." "Isn't it, though?" Teddy pressed. His eyes narrowed. "Tell me this. When was the last time someone sat on this couch and said something that actually surprised you? Something that wasn't rehearsed, cleared by their publicist or polished by their label?" The question hung. Kelly didn't answer right away. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of lights and the shuffle of crew. Finally, she exhaled, her voice quieter, stripped of its daytime sheen. "You want the truth? The last time I was genuinely surprised was 3 years ago. A young songwriter broke down about losing his father. It was raw. It was real. And you know what happened? It got chopped into a viral clip with a clickbait headline. For the first time, Teddy's expression softened. He saw the crack in her armor. So you do see it. You know what I'm talking about. Of course I do, Kelly said, her voice firming again. But what's the alternative? We live in a world where everything gets cut, clipped, dissected, turned into content. Every word I say here gets chewed up and spit out online. You think I don't feel that pressure? Then why keep playing the game? Teddy leaned in, intensity pulsing in his tone. Why stay part of something you admit is hollow? Kelly let out a sharp, almost bitter laugh. Because it pays the bills, Teddy. Because a whole team of people rely on this show to feed their families. Because even if it's manufactured half the time, sometimes we do reach someone who needs to hear something real. But at what cost? Teddy asked. His words landed heavy, cutting through the air. How much of you do you have to surrender to keep this machine running? Kelly froze. The question hit like a body blow. Her hands clenched in her lap. When she finally lifted her gaze, her eyes carried something raw, something unguarded. More than I'd like to admit, she said softly. But that's the trade, isn't it? That's the price of having a platform like this. It doesn't have to be, Teddy replied, his voice quiet but unshakable. That's exactly my point, Teddy said, leaning in, his voice cutting through the silence. We've all convinced ourselves that to reach people, to share our art, we have to give up pieces of who we are. But what if we didn't? Kelly shook her head, frustration cracking through her polished tone. That's easy to say when you're new to the game. Wait until you've been in this industry 20 years. Wait until you've seen how fast it chews you up and spits you out if you don't play along. You think I haven't been chewed up already? Teddy's voice sharpened, carrying the grit of lived experience. You think this has been some fairy tale climb? I've played in empty bars, slept in vans, watched doors slam in my face because I didn't fit the mold. The only reason I'm sitting here is because I refuse to become someone else. Kelly's eyes narrowed. Her tone was steady, but laced with challenge. And yet, here you are, on a mainstream talk show, promoting an album from a major label. Sounds to me like you found a way to play the game after all. The words landed heavy, the air between them sparking like a live wire. Teddy's jaw clenched, his hands tightening around the arms of his chair. You think this is playing the game? You think calling out the system while I'm in the middle of it makes me a hypocrite? I think it's complicated, Kelly shot back. It's always easier to condemn the system when you're cashing its checks. You're here because your label wants units moved. Your team booked this spot because they know millions are watching. So tell me, Teddy, how is that any different from the rest of us? The studio went dead still, the audience hanging on every word. Teddy let the silence stretch before answering, his tone calm but unflinching. The difference is, I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not sitting here feeding some sanitized story about my process while sidestepping the truth. I'm having the conversation that nobody else wants to have, even if it costs me, even if it burns bridges. Burning bridges? Kelly echoed, her voice rising just slightly. That's what you think you're doing here? Let me tell you something, Teddy. This industry has a long memory, and it does not forgive people who bite the hand that feeds them. Teddy leaned forward, his eyes steady, his words quiet but charged. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the fact that we're all terrified of biting the wrong hand, Teddy shot back, his voice low but sharp, is exactly why everything feels so sanitized. So fake. Kelly leaned forward, matching his intensity, her words quick and clipped. You call it fake. I call it professional. You call it sanitized. I call it accessible. Not every moment has to be a philosophical war about authenticity. Sometimes people just want to feel good, to laugh, to escape whatever hell they're going through. And sometimes, Teddy countered, his voice rising, they need to be confronted. They need someone to say what everyone else is too afraid to. Confronted about what, Teddy? Kelly snapped, her patience gone, her tone no longer friendly host but sharp as a blade. What great truth are you delivering here? That TV has formats. That shows have expectations. That the entertainment industry is manufactured. That's not breaking news. The truth, Teddy barked back, his chest rising with each breath, is that we're all complicit in a system where artists have to pick authenticity or success, where interviews get boiled down to marketable sound bites dressed up as deep conversations, and we all pretend it's real. Kelly's chair screeched against the floor as she stood abruptly, the sudden movement sparking gasps from the audience. You know what, Teddy? If this format is so beneath you, if sharing your music with millions is such an insult to your artistic integrity, then maybe you should have stayed in those dive bars. Teddy didn't move at first, but his posture shifted, coiled tight like a spring. When he finally spoke, his voice was dangerously quiet. There it is. The real Kelly Clarkson, not the bubbly mentor, not the America's sweetheart, the one who gets nasty when her world gets challenged. Don't you dare, Kelly snapped, pointing a finger at him, her voice cracking with anger. Don't you dare sit there and psychoanalyze me like you know a damn thing about my life or my career. Teddy rose slowly, towering over her, the shift in physical presence unmistakable. The audience shifted uncomfortably, the tension in the air almost unbearable. I don't need to know your life story to see what's happening here, he said, his voice steady now, almost calm. The second someone pushes back against the safe narrative, you get defensive. You try to shut it down. I'm not shutting anything down, Kelly snapped, her cheeks flushed. I'm defending myself against someone who came on my stage with an agenda to tear down everything I've built. Your show, Teddy repeated, stressing the word. That's telling. This isn't a conversation between two artists anymore. This is about protecting your territory. Kelly's face burned red, her fists tight at her sides. This is my show. I've spent years building it. Building trust with guests. Creating a space where artists feel safe telling their stories. And you waltz in here like it's all worthless. I never said it was worthless, Teddy replied, maddeningly calm. I said it was manufactured. There's a difference. Something can serve a purpose and still not be authentic. Not authentic? Kelly let out a sharp, bitter laugh. You keep throwing that word around like you're the only one who knows what it means. You want to know what authentic is? Authentic is showing up every day and doing your job, even when you don't feel like it. Authentic is caring about the people who tune in, who find comfort in this show, who discover music they never would have heard otherwise. That's authentic. Authentic, Teddy fired back, is also being willing to admit when something's broken. When the format is so rigid that real conversation can't even breathe. Real conversation? Kelly scoffed, disbelief cutting through her tone. What do you think this is? Because to me, this feels pretty damn real. This only got real, Teddy said, eyes narrowing, when you stopped trying to steer it back to safe territory, the second you quit the script and actually engaged. The accuracy of the jab landed. For a flicker of a moment, Kelly's anger gave way to something softer, recognition. But it was gone just as fast, replaced with a fresh edge of frustration. Fine, she snapped. You want real? Let's be real. You're talented, Teddy. No one's denying that. But you're also arrogant as hell. You think a few hits and a loyal fan base give you the right to come on my show and lecture me about authenticity? And you, Teddy countered, unflinching, are defensive. You've built your brand on being the relatable, down-to-earth idol. But the minute someone questions the system that props you up, we see the truth. You're invested in keeping the machine running. The words came faster now, both of them past the point of control. Kelly stepped closer, her voice dropping low, sharp as glass. You act like you're enlightened, like you're above it all. But you're just another singer who thinks the world owes them because they can hold a note. Teddy's calm cracked, his shoulders tightening. And you're just another gatekeeper who forgot what it was like to be hungry, what it was like to have something real to say. Gatekeeper? Kelly's voice pitched upward, fury breaking through. I've used this platform to lift hundreds of new artists. I've given people opportunities they never would have had. Within the boundaries of what's acceptable, Teddy cut in, his tone laced with disdain. Within the format. That's not the same as real support. Don't you dare talk to me about support, Kelly shot back, her voice trembling now with more than anger. I've survived this industry longer than you've been in it. I know what happens to people who don't learn how to navigate it professionally. Professionally, Teddy repeated, spitting the word like poison. The magic shield. The excuse for every compromise, every sanitized moment that could have mattered but didn't. Kelly threw up her hands. What do you want from me, Teddy? For me to stand here and say everything I've done is fake? That my career's a lie? I want you to admit there's a problem, Teddy said, his voice dropping low, almost intimate. That maybe we've all gotten so comfortable, so numb, that we've stopped asking if it should be different. And then what? Kelly demanded, breath sharp. Say I admit it. Say I agree the whole thing's manufactured. What's the next step? We burn it all down? Walk away from the platforms that let us reach people? No, Teddy said simply, almost gently now. We stop pretending. We stop painting over the cracks. We let the mess show. We let people see what's real, because that's the only thing that still matters. Kelly stared at him, chest heaving, the silence between them suddenly heavier than the shouting had been. The studio had gone dead quiet, the kind of silence that made every breath, every shift in a chair sound deafening. Crew members froze, the audience leaning forward as if afraid to blink. When Kelly finally spoke, her voice came out hoarse, almost a whisper. You don't understand what you're asking for. You have no idea what it would mean to tear down the systems that make shows like this possible. Maybe that's exactly the point, Teddy answered, steady and unflinching. Maybe some systems deserve to be torn down. The words landed like a detonation, vibrating in the air. Kelly's face flickered through emotions, shock, fury, pain, and something dangerously close to fear. For a moment, they stood locked in a stare-down that felt less like a talk show and more like a verdict on the industry itself. Real people are being failed, Teddy pressed, his voice breaking through the tension. Artists who never get heard because they don't fit the mold. Audiences spoon-fed the same recycled comfort food because it tests well, because it's safe, predictable, unthreatening. And your solution? Kelly shot back, her voice cracking before climbing higher. Burn the platforms to the ground? Destroy the only places that give artists any chance at all. My solution, Teddy said, his voice rising with heat, is to stop pretending this is the ceiling. To stop treating the bare minimum as the best we can do. To demand more, even if it scares people. Kelly shook her head slowly, her features softening into something perilously close to pity. You know what your problem is, Teddy? You think you're the first one to figure this out. The first artist to notice the cracks. Smarter, more experienced people have tried. And do you know what happens to them? They get pushed out, Teddy cut in, his voice sharp, immediate. They get labeled difficult, unprofessional, doors slam, phones stop ringing, until they either bend or vanish. Exactly, Kelly said, finding her footing again, her tone firm. So what makes you think you'll be any different? For the first time, Teddy smiled. Not bitter, not mocking, something fierce, unshakable. Because I'm not afraid of disappearing. I was nothing before all this, and I'll be nothing after, if that's what it takes. But I'll be nothing on my own terms. The word struck Kelly like a physical blow. She staggered a half step back, her hand groping for the back of her chair as if steadying herself. That's not brave, Teddy, she said, her voice trembling now, caught between anger and disbelief. That's naive. You think integrity makes you bulletproof? That it shields you from the consequences? No, Teddy said softly, though his tone carried through the hushed studio. Integrity doesn't erase the consequences. It's the only thing that makes them worth facing. Because if success demands you kill off who you are to achieve it, what's the point? Kelly's breath hitched, her composure fraying. Then her voice climbed, fierce again, as though volume alone could beat him back. The point, Teddy, is that success gives you a platform. Without that, you're just shouting into the void.